Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy, and you've got a question. You want to know how to make things float, right? You've seen magicians do it, right? They levitate like a ring or a pen or a card rises out of the box, and you're wondering, how do I get into that? How do I start with IT? That's a great magic question. All right, we're going to get into it. We're going to dive in. Going to be a deep dive into IT. Talked about IT a lot on this channel, actually. Every time I review a new ITR, I always give you a little bit of IT theory. And if you ever are curious, you can go back and find any one of the reviews I've done for any ITR. Chances are I say a lot of these same things that I'm going to say now. But I just thought, let's put it all in one little spot, right? Let's group it all together, take all that knowledge, squish it down into one video, because you got questions. You want to know, where do you start? Like, what's the best thing to get? And usually when one of these new like miracle ITRs come out, they make a lot of bold promises, and you see these trailers where just the absolute impossible is taking place. Like the magician is 50 yards away. He's across an embankment. Like there's a river between him and the object, and this ring like floats up the straw of a soda cup, and it comes off the straw and it moves across and it lands on the spectator's finger, and then her boyfriend proposes, and you're like, how in the world, right? How in the world? And you're tempted. You're like, yes, take my money. And you pull that wallet out and you're ready to shell out a couple $100 on the latest ITR. Let me stop you. IT is a lot like anything else in the magic community. IT is a lot like rough and smooth. IT is a lot like black art, okay? It's a tool. It's a tool. And there are people on both sides of the fence. And so you have to work with it yourself a little bit and decide if it's something that you want to do, okay? And I will tell you right now, this is my suggestion. Getting into IT and learning how to make things levitate and float is a lot like taking swimming lessons. Nobody decides they're going to take swimming lessons and they just jump feet first into the 8-foot deep end their very first time. No, they inch in, right? You inch in. You get a little more and more comfortable with the water and the depth and the temperature every time. You move slowly. And I'm going to suggest, please, with IT, move slowly. Or it's possible you could make a huge, expensive mistake and, and regret it. So I think what I'm going to offer you now is the royal road to IT, okay? We're throwing that phrase out a lot lately. I'm just gonna borrow it, okay? This is the royal road to IT, okay? And let's start with some warnings, all right? Let's start with some warnings, or just some heads ups, okay? The first of which is, it's not invisible, right? It's misnamed. It is not invisible. It looks invisible. It looks invisible. That's a funny phrase. It's not invisible. It's not invisible. And it's very possible that in your performance, you could make it visible, either by poor lighting or by telegraphing what you're doing. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is invisible string, right? Or wires, that's another popular one, is a typical spectator answer to how a trick is done. Spectators have this Rolodex in their head of how tricks are done, okay? And whenever they watch a magic trick, they'll go to that Rolodex and they'll find one of those answers and just say, it's magnets. It's probably not magnets, but in their head, that's what they're thinking, right? I saw David Copperfield levitate one time, and I said, it's magnets. Because that was the only thing I could think of, because it was clear that he wasn't using a wire, because that's the other one, right? That's the other magic Rolodex, pop out, it's a wire. When they see you floating a card and spinning it around your body, they're just thinking, wow, that's neat, but I can't see the wire. They just think it's a wire, okay? When they see someone float on stage, they don't really believe that person can float, okay? You can't suspend reality that much. Nobody believes that. Nobody believes someone can fly. All they really believe is, I can't see the wire. Isn't it amazing that I can't see the wire? But they just assume it's a wire, all right? That's one of the answers. So a wire is one of the answers people have in their mind. Smoke and mirrors, that was the old one, right? Oh, it's all done with smoke and mirrors. Magnets, that's the new one. Sleight of hand. Sleight of hand has become an acceptable explanation to how tricks are done. Oh, that's just all sleight of hand. Penn and Teller use that as an answer. Like Penn and Teller will watch someone do a coin trick or a card trick, and they'll just say, that was some great sleight of hand. And that counts as not fooling them. It's an acceptable answer. We just say, oh, it's all done with sleight of hand. And they're right. Technically, they're right, right? Thread or fishing line or a wire is another answer. And so when you're doing tricks with IT, you have to not telegraph, not say, it's not a verbal thing you're saying. It's something that you're doing with your body or your emotions that's telegraphing that I'm using a wire, okay, or I'm using fishing line. That's what people think. So as a magician, how do you not telegraph? How do you not portray that you're using IT? Number one, bouncing. Bouncing is horrible. It is the thing I see with bad IT effects the most. When you watch the ring rise up, it does this, right? Because of the weight of the object and the tension that's on the IT, your object will bounce. When you see a dollar bill floating between your hands and it bounces like this, it's bouncing on the fold line. Your eye doesn't see the IT, but your brain does. That's why I'm saying it's not always invisible. Your brain can see it even though your eyes can't. And they know in their head it's on a wire, right? When they see that thing circling your body and it stays at the same level the entire time, it follows the same course, right, perfectly, their brain just says it's a wire. And they're not wrong, right? They're not wrong. So telegraphing is huge. Another one is holding it out too long. I don't ever levitate things for a long time. Like I don't do the card spinning around the body thing. I just think it's too long, right? If you really had the power to levitate something, you'd be doing it all the time. So make it seem like it's something that takes a lot out of you and you can only do it for a brief second, okay? And this is a great way to start doing tricks. And this is how I've always used IT, okay? When I first started out, I would use IT as a way for someone to approach me because I was too shy to approach them. So I would go off in a corner, or I'd be sitting at the lunch table, or I'd be over by a bookshelf or a bookcase or something, and I would just do a little hookup, and I would float a bill between me and the bookshelf or something like that, or between me and my book, or between me and my soda. And people would see that, and they would come over and go, whoa, what were you doing? And like, oh no, I didn't know anybody was watching me. Did know somebody was watching me, but I made it look like I didn't know. And that brought them over. And I said, well, that's just something I'm still practicing. I'm not very good at it. Let me show you something else. And then you move into your routine. It's a great way to bring people to you. And that way also, they're seeing it out of the corner of their eye. They're unsure about what they saw. And it entices them to come over and talk to you like, oh, you're a magician. I find that works better than actually just doing a card trick, floating a ring, doing a coin trick. I mean, floating something is such a powerful thing. Why would you put it between a card trick and a coin trick, right? Floating something defies logic and science. So make it short, make it brief. You know, floating something would be cool is, let's say you're doing a card trick and you need a pen. And say, hang on, we need a pen. And you see a pen, but it's just a little bit out of reach. And so you make the pen come to you, and then you say, here's the pen. And that's it. That'd be a great way to use a thread reel, right? You just make the pen come to you. Because in that moment, they might think, oh, magnets. But they're wrong, because it wasn't magnets, right? So And then you hand the pen out and they get to hold it and they can probably see, oh wait, this isn't magnetic. I find it's better to use a thread reel in a very brief way to do something that's more shocking than to sit there and focus on something for a long time. I don't know, that's just me. That's how I've used it. So another thing is lighting. You want to telegraph that you're using IT, lighting is huge, okay? You don't want to be in bright sunlight. So outdoors doesn't work, unless it's outdoors at night, okay? So lighting is huge. Your clothing, okay? You want to make sure that you're not wearing the wrong clothes. So you want to wear dark clothing or clothes that have a pattern or confusing lines, okay? That's what you see when you see magicians float on stage, right? Always, whenever you see a magician floating on stage, don't look at them, look at the curtain behind them. You know, when Chris Angel flies on stage, his curtain is like shiny metallic strings hanging down, okay? Very confusing to the eye. So he's trying not to telegraph, right? Don't let them see the wire. And then pick the right object. You know, along with bouncing happens sometimes because you haven't picked the right object. Don't borrow something if you're not sure of how it's going to affect the IT. You can borrow something and not understand its weight or where its center of gravity is and goof up. So practice with the objects that you're borrowing. Know that this ring is a good weight. Some rings are not a good weight. You certainly don't want to pick up a watch, right? There are some objects that are too heavy and they will snap your IT. So knowing the weight of things helps a lot. All right, so how do you start? Where do you begin? I've piqued your interest. You want to start. You want to know, all right, I want to spend some money. How do I get into this? Let me just make one suggestion. Start with buying a spool of thread. That's it. Don't buy an expensive ITR. Just buy a spool of thread. It could be backup thread. It could just be thread. And learn Pearsons Hookup. Now, I'm not going to tell you that because it's not mine to give away. I'm not going to tell you where to look, but you can find it, all right? Sometimes it's referred to as the floating cigarette. It's Pearsons floating cigarette. He came up with this hookup called Pearsons Hookup. If you learn Pearsons Hookup, you can walk around with just that. You will be carrying IT on you, and you'll be able to levitate small objects like a ring or a pen or a bill. And that's all you need. And that's a great way to start. That's how I started. You know, when I was talking about, you know, going over by a bookshelf or levitating a dollar bill off the straw of my cup, that's all with Pearsons Hookup. You can do Pearsons Hookup very inexpensively without any extra bells or whistles, and you will have an understanding, a very good understanding of how IT works, okay? With very little cost. And it's a great way to, like I said, with learning how to swim, to put that toe in the water, okay? And trust me, just go out and YouTube or Google it, go talk on your magicians forums, ask people if they can tell you how to do Pearsons Hookup. And you know, you'll find out how to do Pearsons Hookup pretty quickly, okay? So don't get mad at me because I'm not giving it away. You can find it. All right, so let's say you've done Pearsons Hookup and you're ready to go into something a little bit more. I would suggest you go to penguinmagic.com and you buy a package of loops, L-O-O-P-S. Don't buy any cheap knockoff generic loops. Buy the one from Miguel Masica. I think they're $10, $10, and you get a package of 8, which is plenty. All right, they will break over time, but it's fine. When you buy the package of loops, you're gonna get a download video. You're gonna learn Haunted Deck. You're gonna learn how to move a fork. You're gonna learn how to spin the fork, how to animate it, and you're gonna learn how to float a dollar bill. So all the classics. Okay, and if you want to skip Pearsons Hookup and you want to go straight to loops because you want some video instruction, that's fine too. Loops will be enough to get you started. And to be fair, some people never even go further than that. Some people have decided that, you know what, I can get and do exactly what I want with loops. I don't need anything expensive. And it's very possible that this is where you're good, you're comfortable, okay? But yet, there could be those of you like, I want to do more, I want to do more, I want to do so much more, I want to make things fly and float and do all kinds of crazy stuff. All right, then you need some more instruction, okay? Still, before you get some expensive ITR, get some instruction. let me give you 2 DVD resources that are great for teaching how to work with IT. And the first one is Easy to Master Thread Miracles by Michael Amar. Now, if you've been watching some of these magic questions that I've been doing with card magic, coin magic, rope magic, you're going to hear me recommend Michael Amar a lot. A lot. The man is the teacher's teacher. Chances are, if you're looking for some field of magic that you want to get into, Michael Amar has already made a video for it. And yes, they're old. Yes, they're dated. But the teaching there is solid. It is solid. Teaching does not go out of style. His suit might. The spectator's clothes might. But the teaching does not. Okay? These are rock solid. Rock solid. There is another video out there. It is sold out in most places, harder to find, but it's still a gem and is still one people recommend time and time again. And it's Who's Afraid of Invisible Thread by John LeClair. So again, that's the classic. Okay, that's the classic. That's the one you'll hear magicians recommend a lot. But like I said, sold out, harder to find, but still a good one. If you can get up to that point and you still want to go further, this is where I would say, now it's time for you to jump into the deep end. All right? Now, I would say, buy an ITR. Okay? I know you're like, why am I waiting so long? Well, because it's like going from zero to hero, right? So it's a journey. I think if you don't know anything about IT and you just jump straight into the ITR, most of you will be frustrated and you'll regret your purchase. I think if you want to fall in love with this style and this is something you want to do, I think you need to move through it at a good pace. All right. I find this a lot. I have a magic tutor. I have a teacher that teaches me card tricks, and I'll say, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this. And he'll say, like, dude, you got to learn to walk before you can run. Okay. So I see that you want to do this, but you can't do this until you do this first. And so I would just give you that same advice. Okay. Start slow with IT. Here's the thing about ITRs. They sell out. The good ones even sell out. And so for me to now make you a list of really great ITRs to buy would be almost pointless, because most of the ones that I would recommend or that I even own right now are sold out. They're sold out. You can't find them anywhere. And chances are, if you watch this video even a year from now or 2 years from now, after I've made it, even if I did recommend something that was still in the store, it would have sold out. Okay? So what do? How do you pick out an ITR? I would start by seeing what other people say. And that's still sketchy because we all have our preferences. Some people love tarantula. You know, you could say, hey, I get that question a lot. People ask me, hey, should I buy tarantula? What's the answer? Some people love tarantula. Some people think it's garbage. So how do you answer that? Because IT is something that's totally based on preference and how you like using it. So that's what I'm saying. You've got to be on this journey to know where you fall in that. Yeah, read other reviews. Okay, read other reviews and see what people are saying. And then look for names you can trust. All right, names you can trust. What are some names you can trust? Penguin. Penguin has put out their own thread reels in the past. Thread Boss, they've done something like that. And I love their little thread reels. I wish that they were still available. Right now they're not. But I would trust Penguin. I would trust Sorcery Manufacturing. Okay, Sorcery Manufacturing has been the standby for making thread reels forever. If you walk into a Ma and Pa store, they probably have Sorcery Manufacturing thread reels. Okay, and they're good. They're good. Some lock, some don't lock, some are automatic. Okay, the bigger, more expensive ones. The reason why they're bigger and more expensive is usually because they're electronic or battery operated. Okay, and whenever you add technology, microchips, things like that, it becomes more expensive. Yagel Masika, that's another name you can trust. Yagel Masika, fantastic. The guy knows thread. Okay, bottom line, he knows thread. His Spider Pen Pro is probably the best reel on the market. And right now, as of the making of this video, it is still available for $100. And so if I were going to recommend something, I would say yes, Spider Pen Pro, Tarantula, those two that are still available, they are very, very, very good, in my opinion. But like I said, you kind of want to take that journey and have that relationship with thread before you get to buying an ITR. Now this is the best part of the video, because this is where you, the viewer, can chime in and offer your advice as well. The great thing about the internet is it allows us to share ideas. It is the exchange of ideas. And so if you have a polite comment, or something came up while I was talking, or something I said like sparked your memory, and you're like, oh wait, there's something David forgot. Hey, I'm not perfect. Tell us, what did I forget? Give some of your own advice down below, either advice about telegraphing IT, wearing IT, trusted names to purchase, thread reels that are currently for sale that you think are worth the money, strong thread that you think is out there that won't break, anything like that, or ways to introduce thread to a routine, or how you use it. We would all love to hear your wonderful advice. Post it down below. Thank you guys for these questions that keep coming up. I try to read through all these questions. I want to answer them. Keep coming back on Wednesdays for a new Q&A, a new magic question, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.